You're listening to Little Birdie, a unique look into the world of sports and racing from the eyes of professionals. Jack Dickens is with us. I'm not sure what's doing with his hair today. Sammy Todd is fresh from a coastal getaway.
Oh, we'll get to that a little bit later, won't we?
Can't wait. And Dowson's here, fresh off round 2 of AFL.
G'day all.
G'day, Potters. How are you?
Good to be here, and great to get the AFL off on the weekend.
Thought you boys opened the batting in pretty good order. You happy with how you saw them?
Well, I wasn't happy about quarter time of the Carlton-Melbourne game, but things improved, and it was a good first week.
We'll get to that in segment 3, won't we, Scooty? What else have we got on the show today?
Well, I reckon we just should see how Sammy's going after a coastal freshen up. Sammy, can you hit me with your top 3 destinations or experiences from your little getaway?
Okay, well, first off, Mornington Peninsula is divine.
Thank
Stayed
you.
at a little winery there. Gorgeous.
Didn't give me a text. You and the big Dolph didn't say, hey, Dicko, what are you up to? You want to come for a coffee? Maybe a little wine, little shardy?
Not Seaford.
Busy.
Red Hill.
Yeah, Red Hill. Precisely, wow.
How do I know?
Did you go to that restaurant up on the hill?
Busy. So the winery was great. The room was fabulous. Had like an open fireplace, spa bath. It was fab. Definitely hit it up while you're there. Couple of coastal walks around the area. Cape Shank, beautiful. Then Lorne. You have to get around Lorne. It is amazing. There's this great restaurant there called Ipsos. Definitely a good time. And a burger joint as well, which Scooty recommended. A bottle of milk. I think
Yeah,
it's
they
called.
do great brekkie burgers.
She's definitely got this man's heart.
Whoever it is.
Whoever he is, rumours are, I think we might play golf with him every now and again. And to get him walking.
I know.
Were you in a golf cart?
No.
Wow.
So for anyone that doesn't know, Sammy's from New Zealand. She spent most of her time in Sydney, so Victoria's a little bit foreign, and she's just finding her feet around the coastal and regional areas now that COVID struck and you can't go overseas. She's just usually jet setting all around the world.
Well, Japan got called off for me, unfortunately. I was in the middle of Japan when COVID hit.
What about the 12 Apostles? Is there anything left down there?
Not much.
No proposals or anything else out wide to tell us about?
Yeah, what about the 12?
Whoa.
What about not so much the 12
Romantic
apostles?
Triple
What about
A.
the 12 posts? I thought that the man in question still was building like towards a sort of the post, the couple post.
Are you talking
He
about-
was getting really sort of earthy. A lot of nature pics as a sign of a real happy camper. Were you a little bit shattered that late on the trip you didn't sort of feature?
Definitely not shattered, thank you.
So did you guys go in with a premeditated plan of cropping each other out of Insta shots?
No, we just enjoy our privacy, believe it or not.
Oh,
wow, a bit of
change the
privacy.
tune, little girl.
No statements for the press, thank you.
Scooty, you've had a little bit of an adventure yourself, nation's capital.
Yeah, I had a chat to Scotty from marketing. He needed a couple of tips. I told him about the stratosphere, the bull, how to get a bit of positive publicity.
Bit of momentum.
We talked about momentum, but I'll leave him to run the country and I'll just steer Little Birdie.
Yep, sweet. Dowso.
I thought he
Standing there with the chip. I
real
thought that
alpha move to wear the Hawthorn jacket in after a pretty dismal performance for the last half of the game. Hawthorn went missing, Dowso.
They were boys against men on Friday night. I thought they were pretty weak, the Hawks. Missed tackles, didn't look like they wanted to be in it. They looked small against the bigger bodies of Geelong and a little bit disappointing. But
I thought what was more disappointing was the classic Jeffrey move to come out a day and a half later and start to just like change the narrative a little bit, focus on something else. No, mate, your club's going awful. You've not reset.
have you...
And 10 years ago, you guys almost merged with the Demons. So how about you calm down and stop bagging other clubs that might be struggling today? I know life's tough, Chef, because the pokies aren't working at the moment, mate. But if you're dependent on poker machines for a revenue stream for your footy club, don't take that out on all the other Victorian footy clubs. You do you, Jeff. Focus on your backyard and let the rest of us operate ourselves, yeah?
Have you followed any of his work over the last 20 or 30 years, Dicko? Is there any surprises there for you from Jeff Kennett?
No, I wasn't,
we love
I was
him at the Hawks,
surprised,
Jeff.
a little bit
We love him.
disappointed.
We love him.
All right, so on today's show, we're going to talk NRL with Top Rope Tedeschi. He's going to do the Hall of Fame. We'll get Cam on the line to compliment Dowson, and talk AFL round 3. There's some absolute stinkers. We've got a couple of really good sick beats, and we'll finish off with the Snowman, Talking Ponies, and some golf from Big Daddy. Big Daddy's back.
Big Daddy Adam Fraser joins us. He's fresh off his big COVID spell. We're going to talk about the big rig Bryson DeChambeau.
And speaking of golf, no golf this week for you and I. You'd be a bit on edge. It's been a little bit of a battle. You've been in self-lockdown for the last 3 days, being stay-at-home dad, running the show.
Superwoman, Emsy. I know she's listening. She's hit a big brick wall this week. I don't know what happened, but in bed for 3+ days. Crook. So old Dicko's had to step up.
No golf.
Juggled both. Full-time dad, full-time punter. Nailed it, Sam.
How do you do it?
You sleep a lot less and you don't do anything that you want to do. You just focus on the little man. But it's actually enjoyable, but very, very stressful. I'd never put him down to sleep at night, for example. I bath him, but then she would always put him to sleep. So you're worried, like, if he doesn't go down and just go to sleep here, what am I going to do?
What about the darts? Are you back on the darts?
I've had I classify myself as a partial darter. So, like, once the boy went down...
That's called a smoker.
It's not good data.
Well, I don't know what you'd call me back in the day, but certainly more than a partial darter. I've engaged upon a couple of percentages smooth once he's been down and the day's over. Actually cracked a glass of red, which isn't my sort of go-to, but Rob Scurry's hooked me up with another delivery of 12 grouse bottles of red, and I just sort of had a little glass of red. Benson just smooth out the back with the dogs and just sort of reset.
Ooh,
treat yourself.
He's enjoyed it, hasn't he? Sammy, you a partial darter? Any darts down the coast with Dolph?
Absolutely not.
No.
Not anymore?
No, I used to smoke when I was 16. I was living in France, and it sort of I just caught the habit. It was the thing to do, but I gave it up with the croissants.
Oh, Sammy's lots of very pure. Sammy, she brought in muffins for everyone today, which is
What a woman. What a woman.
Late night baking again. There's more to that. And we'll just keep peeling back the layers and levels of Sammy, who barracks for Carlton. How did you find Carlton?
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, footy was a religion at my place, but we were liberal enough to be allowed to choose our own teams. So I fell in love. My very first love was Kuda Fides.
Oh, how
and
could you
what
not?
a man.
Oh, the goddess.
Probably fair enough. Pay that.
Dorso's got a bit of a thing for him too. We might take a break and hose everyone down and talk rugby league and Hall of Fame up next.
It's Dowson, mate. Show a little bit of courtesy.
Now I'm confused.
We've completely grown ourselves up here on Little Birdie. It's Dowso punters. Stop calling him Dorso. He hates it and we feel awful about it.
I'm just taking the PI55. Topsport.com.au, the biggest betting online bookie, taking everyone on, never rejecting a bet and betting the biggest limits. Gamble responsibly. 1-800-858-858. It's Hall of Fame time and it's Nick Tedeschi time. I think I did a really poor job of that. The PVL lover is back on the line. I'm your host, Scoot. We've got Dicko. He hasn't done his hair all day today. He's still got bed hair somehow.
We'll just cover that in segment 1, mate. My missus is probably the greatest hairdresser in Melbourne, likely Australia, and she's out of action. So I'm operating with a bit of a sort of looser do.
She obviously doesn't do beards. Sammy Todd's with us also. Dowso's on fire. But let's talk Hall of Fame. Top rope, Tedeschi.
Oh, how good to be here. We are back. Would love to get PVL in again. He's buying a jet this week.
Bullshit.
Is there anything the great man do? He's overcome coronavirus. What a great man. But look,
is he actually buying a jet?
The NRL looking into buying a jet. Into buying a NRL Air. The game is literally flying. That's how good it's going. So.
You must have dreams or nightmares of PVL.
That'd be dreams.
Absolute dreams.
The missus had to change her sheets the next day after the big PVL dreams.
We are on the wrong lane, drifting to the outside fence, under no control right now. Hall of Fame this week. We're going to go back to the horse flesh this week, and we're going to go with, I think, one of your favourites, Scooty, the great Vanna Girl.
Vanna Girl.
Did the job again on the weekend. Won 5 of its last 6. Last 5 starts as a favourite. Gets the job done. That's got to be something for the punters. We'll put Vanna Girl in.
She's the new Rubisaki. It's just the ATM up in Queensland. She's winning everything at the moment, and she's just got push start button acceleration. I think I've said that a little bit skew-if, but she travelled wide and then just loomed up in the straight about 6 wide and put them away in just a couple of strides.
There is no easier watch when you've taken the shorts than watching Vanna Girl. It just goes bang.
It's going to be great to see her down in Melbourne, and she will absolutely terrorise.
God's winner game, Rugby League. What's doing this week? Or what happened last week, top rope?
Last week, coronavirus scare was probably the big news of the weekend. weekend, PVL, of course, saved the day, made a call, says, look, we're going to move the game from Sunday to Monday night. Monday night footy was back. Tremendous stuff.
Used to be the great
that's
thing.
Leadership.
Why did the great man remove Monday night footy?
No, it was before his time.
The great man will look at all options to make rugby league the greatest game, not only of all, but the world game. So watch out, soccer. Rugby league's coming. Rugby league's starting to get narky again, and this is where I really thrive. A lot of positivity, a lot of good news over the first couple of weeks. The rule changes, the game's faster. Now, all of a sudden, your typical kind of early deliberate penalties, a lot of wrestling, a lot of trouble. Rugby league's getting real angry, real narky again, which is where it belongs. Real happy to see that. NRL put out a statement yesterday saying they would use the sin bin for any deliberate infractions. That will last about a week, and then we'll just go back to business as normal.
Rugby league lost a great man in Noel Kelly this week.
One of the all-time greats in the hooker team of the century. Absolute gentleman. Also got sent off 17 times for Western Sudbury, a record in premiership history. So famously quoted as saying, nobody ever got hurt from a punch in the nose. So hard to argue with that. And was famously part of the biggest betting rorts in premiership history, the 1963 grand final. Jack Gibson played for West, prop partner with Noel Kelly that day. And Gibbo was, of course, known in betting circles, worked as a bouncer at the two-up school. SP Bookie said, we can't win today to Noel Kelly. Noel's gone, what do you mean we can't win? He goes, we're a dead set chance here. He goes, the referees, I know the guys put the money on for referee Darcy Lawler. He'll be making sure the Saints win. So it was in very controversial circumstances. Noel Kelly passed away, Vale Noel, but also involved on the wrong end of one of the great betting rorts of all time.
Geez, stiff not to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Now, moving towards actually focusing on the actual sport today, the Knights have just re-signed Ponga on an enormous amount of coin.
Worth every penny, though, surely.
I think so. Top
right.
I
think so. Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's been great for you guys. To be honest, that signature has helped turn that club around. They were 3 or 4 years on the trot. They won the wooden spoon, or down the bottom 2 or 3. Hadn't made the final since 2013. Ponga's outstanding. I think he'll need to bring a bit more consistency to his game, but he's got the right coach there in young Adam O'Brien to get that out of him.
The Ponga types, the halves, the fives, the fullbacks, they really start to shine when they play in a stronger club with a stronger centre. So if the ball's rolling, they look a lot better. So he's been a shining light in a poor side, which is starting to turn the corner. The better they get, the better he'll go.
Absolutely. The better the pack they get, he just plays well with space. Look, he's going to have to learn to play off the back foot a little better, but you know what, he's got the upside there. He 100% needs to be re-signed. It was a great move by the Knights, I think. I don't know if he's got James Tedeschi upside, but he can be that kind of player for the Knights in terms of just bobs up all over the field, pass, score.
His turn of foot's huge, like push-button acceleration. He's got it in spades.
It's a big sign in that because they got him real young and he's got ambition to play for the All Blacks, which he could. And now they've sort of bought back their investment and they're going to get sort of rewarded for it, hopefully. Mary McGregor is sweet. The Dragons somehow, I don't know how you bet on this game and got it right, but you did. You backed the Dragons to beat the Sharkies. Sharks gone, Dragons sweet.
Dragons gone, Sharks gone, both gone. Both absolute cripples of football clubs at the moment. Sharks are absolutely appalling favourites. They cover like 35% of the favourites, so they're just a play against all the time. That was the reason for the bet. Mary, kind of sweet. He had his ability to select the team taken away from him last week. And their young fullback, who's been so maligned under him, Matt Duffy, got recalled by the new selection panel and turned into man of the match performance. So if you ask me, the victory was more an indictment on Paul McGregor than helping save his career. So
to be fair to Mary, is there anything that man could do to sort of sway you?
After 7 years and one finals win and an absolutely hopeless record with 6 internationals playing for him? No.
Yeah, for the punters out there, should they just go on to topsport.com.au responsibly, 1-800 whatever, and just load up on the Roosters to win the comp? They look outstanding. They have not missed a beat.
I'll tell you what, I'll just be back on the Roosters week to week at the moment because there's no point in tying all your cash up at this early stage. Let's just let's be serious here. We want Top Sport to to be getting plenty of wages on. But let's start with this week. Later -5.5 against the Eels. If it's still 5.5, haven't checked this morning, but that price will be going off. That'll end up 7.5, 8 this week, and it's amazing to see the undefeated Premiership front runners, Parramatta, 5-0, best defence in the NRL to date, second best attack at home, Bankwest Stadium.
Steepest stadium in the land.
That's how good the Roosters. Yeah, that's how good the Roosters are going at the moment. So they're playing at a level.
So is that your play that you want to give the punters this week, the Roosters to cover?
Well, maybe they want a 3-1. You've just got that in the conversation now. The play this week for the punters, this is an absolute laydown for mine. I absolutely love this bet. Over 41.5 points in the Gold Coast St George Illawarra game on Saturday afternoon. I think this game will top 60 points. 5 of the last 8 have topped 54. Dragons have topped 40 in 3 of the last 4. Day game, Suncorp Stadium, flat track. 2 teams who can't tackle, 2 teams who won't tackle. Matt Duffy back for the Dragons and tear the Titans apart. I think this game hits over 41 easily, and I think this one, for those who don't mind a little bit of value, you can get around $11, $12 for 61 plus points.
Beautiful. Sammy, if we're taking the line this week at Top Sport, what's the go?
Well, you can bet $2 lines with Top Sport to win up to $200, which is just enormous value.
Most joints will give you a silly offer like that and go, you can bet to win 20.
Oh, yeah.
Top Sport 200.
Or like $1.90. Yep. Something like that. Yeah, it's pretty weak. But you can get $2 lines with Top Sport to win up to $200. Click through the link, littlebirdiepod.com. Make sure that you are gambling responsibly, though. Know your limits. And if you are worried, call Gamblers Helpline on 1-800-858-858.
Up next, we talk AFL with Cam Dean and Ian Dowson.
Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Nick Heathcote, with Jack Dickens, Ian Dowson and Sammy Todd. And we've got Cam Dean on the line. Welcome, Cam.
Guys and girls, it's great to be here. I'm really excited. I really enjoyed the first week of AFL. So I'm pretty pumped for the second week coming up.
You guys saw it exceptionally well. Dowso had a little bit of a slow for the Tigers. We can't quite give him the full tip there. You found Carlton at the plus, Saints at the plus. We can talk.
One of Cam's better players, like he's providing information for the mailbag.com.au, the Gold Coast to cover at half time. When I saw that come through, I thought, you sick little man. Like, what you sweet? They've ended up killing them.
Yeah, 15.5 at the plus.
How'd you find that?
They do cover. They're a much better first half side than second half side because, well, not only they are, but poor sides are generally better first half sides than second half sides. So if you like them at the handicap, you're much better to back them in the first half, because they'll cover them more often than they'll cover the
Write that down, punters.
The match line.
We can start with bad beats. I've got my own bad beat, and I knew you guys were tipping the plus in the Carlton game, and I missed a little bit of the first 15 minutes of the D's and Carlton match, and then I jumped onto Top Sport and had a look at the market after the first quarter, and to my surprise, there was $13 available on Top Sport. So I just waddled in there and just had a little bet on Carlton, thinking, D's should never be $1.04, especially if, in a stadium like Marvel. Lo and behold, they get back into the match and they hit the post about 5 times in the last quarter, which was absolutely sickening. The only saving grace, I sort of got a bit greedy and I didn't trade out of the position, which I often would. They went back odds on the other side, but I found a little error in the totals betting late, and I saved on the under 120.5 because I thought if it gets tight, maybe Melbourne just fall over the line, which is a bit, it's not really great logic, but
it worked.
It worked, and I think I covered that line by about 11 points, which sort of made me missing the $13 a little bit more digestible. Did you guys have any sick beats for the weekend?
Well, Scoot, actually, speaking of which, I think your mate Dawson's Creek, he was he texted me. He texted me during the week, during that game, and he said the only team that can lose from here is the D's. and he was spot on. They should have lost the game, so I do feel your pain there.
Blues should have won that by 3 goals.
Yeah, they were the much better side.
Did that hurt you a little bit?
I was only on the line actually, so it didn't bother me too much. But yeah, I'd definitely say for the punters that were chasing the Blues head to head, that was definitely a bad beat. Should have won by 3 goals.
Sickest beat of the weekend is going to be
bad
easily
beat.
Cam's.
I think Dawson's Creek lead us in.
Bad beats.
So this game, I mean, they over 137.5 points in the St Kilda Doggies game, and they were absolutely coasting.
I would have traded $1.01 in run.
And they didn't. It still only missed by 1 point, but they did circle work for 13 minutes in that last quarter. There wasn't a score for 13 minutes.
It was chaos.
So,
I was nursing poor Ems. I was patting her head, with my other phone with the KO on the bed, no sound, just watching it, and I'm not a mathematician. I'm just going like 80 plus 42, yeah, 1, 2, just need 4 more goals. Yeah, bang, bang, bang. It's surely home. And then I'm patting her head, and she goes, "You're patting my head a bit hard." Oh, there's 2 minutes to go. We need 7 points. Then that big stick kicked a big goal, and I thought, surely home. Then, yeah, more Forson's back and no results. Sick.
Only punters know that feeling, don't they, Cam? You would have seen a lot of them in your betting career.
You imagine riding that sick beat with your sick missus on the bed. It was torture.
It's so true, like Dicko just said there. You actually can do the maths in your head, but you still do get the calculator out just in case you've got it wrong. You're like, have I got this wrong?
I got the calculator out before I texted you and said that's one of the sickest beats of all time.
I consumed a fair few games before I whizzed up to Canberra, but who's going worse at the moment? Is it Adelaide Crows? Is it West Coast Eagles? And they're going to have to stay at the Gold Coast for a couple of weeks and be pretty gloomy scenes there. The Western Bulldogs, who look like they're absolutely on tilt. If you had 6 months ago, you thought they were going to be a bit of a threat this year, and then Hawthorn? The AFL website is the next one.
Don't forget Hawthorn.
Couldn't find the scores. I still don't know where the teams are, the final teams and the late changes. It is an absolute mess. It's a technical nightmare.
COVID's really had its way with the production quality at the AFL app, that's for sure. Feel a little bit for those guys, but there's no final teams. You have to trawl through Twitter to get an update on who's playing, so they've got a bit of work to do there, the AFL. But Cam, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I thought I was doing something wrong. I couldn't find the final teams anywhere, but you've nailed it there, Scoot. The Doggies, they're on life support, aren't they? Like, they were well fancied coming into this season, and they have been absolutely horrendous.
There's something going on, and they got Dicko's mob. They got the Swans this week.
Oh, they'll probably win there. But there's a lot of finger pointing with the Doggies because that's one of the games I watched because I was chasing.
No, they haven't got hold up. No, they haven't got the Swans. The Kangas have got the Swans this week.
The website's let me down again. They got the Giants. They got the Giants at Marvel. So that's
the Giants off a loss too.
Off a loss.
No good at all. And I fear for St Kilda and for the Doggies off that suicidal tempo they played at.
Yeah. What I am loving, though, about the AFL season at the moment, I'm loving the shorter quarters. It's unpopular opinion, but I think they're great. I think some of these rubbish games just go on for too long, and these shorter quarters, selfishly as well, on a Thursday and Friday night, I like to tuck into bed early. You don't have to wait around as long.
Definitely the future. It's like everything in sport. Like the Fossils will have the loudest voices, they have the microphones, but the times are changing, and AFL goes, I think 16 minutes is probably too long.
Yeah, and everyone's attention span is shrinking. Racing looking to try and push towards 30-minute gaps. Like, to have 45 minutes between the races is ridiculous. Everything's getting shorter and shorter. You've got Instagram. I can barely stay on someone's page for 5 seconds. It has to be pretty engaging and exciting content.
Even like the NBA, when it rocks back around, that's too long.
Yeah, too many games.
It's 48 minutes, but it goes for 4 hours. It's just like timeouts and relentless stop, start. Same with the NFL. The faster, the better. The more, like, if you want to get new eyeballs onto a sport, it needs to be like fast and attractive. 2020 is like the cliche that everyone would use as an example, but it is fact.
Yeah, well, our lives are busier. We need digestible sort of little blocks of time.
Well said by Sammy, who's just fresh off a 7-day trip down the Gratian Road. She's absolutely flat out. Cam, from a betting perspective, everyone's allowed a holiday. I know that was a side sight for me. Cam, is there any new patterns or angles? Is the halftime line going to be more appealing, like you played the Gold Coast game, or is there any little pearl that you can drop for us? Or
well, I think we're still working that out. Like, totals are very, very nobody really knows what a total should be at the moment because they're going all over the shop. So I think there's good angles on totals if you can work out where that's going. And then in terms of betting angles on futures, I quite like futures at the moment because this shorter season, we talked about the shorter quarters. The unfortunate thing about these shorter quarters is that we're not going to get bigger bags of goals as we used to get, and no one's really going to get close to 100 goals in a season. But this year, you could win the Coleman Medal, for example, with 40 goals. So, someone gets out to a good lead like Charlie Cameron, he's leading with Perryman for the Coleman Medal. If Charlie has another bag this week, he could be that far ahead and he's going well. You could get him at a decent price for the Coleman. Or for example, Port Adelaide have had 2 great wins. I think they're going quite well as a side. I think they're about $10 on Top Sport for the flag. If they can win against a soft Fremantle this week and then clean up, say, West Coast when they're going poorly, they're flying. They'll finish top 4, and then $10 is great value for the flag. So they're sort of the angles I'm looking at the moment.
The punters are with you there in beating Fremantle this weekend. They've had a little bit of a move at the line from -18.5 into -20.5.
I watched a lot of the Port Adelaide game, and I thought they were really slick, fast. The energy was really, really good for a big game like that. They just absolutely put them to the sword.
And again, though, the 16-minute quarters. Imagine if that went for another 16 minutes that game.
Yeah, it would have been
torture,
even
just
worse.
like the Hawthorn-Geelong game. Like it was over at three-quarter time.
They didn't come out of the sheds. They just got really smashed up in the contested footy, and then on the outside too. Like I think they just put 2 or 3 or 4 goals on us without. It felt like we just didn't touch the ball. Cam, what was your read on the Geelong Hawthorn game, and can they bounce back in a big match against the Tigers?
I think it was quite widely discussed on Twitter that they probably waved the white flag, and that's not the Hawthorn way. And so Dawson's Creek here, he might have something to say about that being a Hawks man. What do you got to think about that?
I just thought that we looked a bit small out there, and I'll be interested to see what they do at the selection table, whether young Hanrahan and Harry Morrison and these sorts of guys are a bit slighter of body, whether we look to move some bigger bodies in there. In terms of how it shapes up for this weekend, we're up against the Tigers, but the Tigers look a little bit unmotivated to me at the moment. They look like they're just doing enough to win, and I think that higher line is potentially a bit of a trap with hopefully a fired up Hawthorn coming back the other way. So I don't really have a strong sense about that one. Cam, you thoughts on that?
Yeah, I couldn't be backing the Hawks unless Jaeger played, especially with some concerns around Mitchell's shoulder.
Do you reckon the shorter game, the faster game, the more sort of flowing game, I think that's dampened the impact, the effect that like a Tom Mitchell has? He's more of a grinder and accumulator, like gets a stack of contests, but it's a little bit quicker now.
I'm not so sure about this whole, the game is shorter, so the game is quicker. I don't know if I subscribe to that yet. I don't think we've seen enough footy. I know it's happened in rugby league, but I don't think that's actually occurring in the AFL. What I think is happening, though, with those shorter quarters, it hurts the second half specialists like the Tigers, like the Blues, these teams that come back in the second half. So I think we saw that against Collingwood on the weekend, and that's why I think that line is potentially a trap against the Hawks this week.
Sammy?
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think you've nailed it there, Dicko, around the those types of players like Tom Mitchell or Tom Scully and these guys that grind out. They're not going to be as effective in these shorter quarters.
Yeah, like Josh Kennedy for the Swans, like the main game I watched, his influence is dampened just a little bit. And Jesus,
I think that's father time more so than the length of the quarters.
Or maybe it's the boys around him. I don't know what his name is, but there was an Essendon bloke who dropped his shoulder into Josh Kennedy's head when he was on the ground after he was tackled, and the lack of intent from fellow Swans players to go in there and remonstrate made me sick, and I thought we were in big trouble here, and we were. Well,
I think the Swans are in a bit of trouble as they come up this week against North Melbourne, and I actually feel that North Melbourne are absolutely going to physically assault the Swans. The Swans are a 3-man team at the moment. They've got Kennedy, Parker and Papley, and as I just mentioned, I think Kennedy's out on his feet, and I think the Swans are in a bit of strife as they come down to Melbourne.
Sammy, any move?
Not for the North Melbourne Kangaroos versus the Sydney Swans match. Obviously, North Melbourne is the favourites. They're $1.60 versus $2.40. The line's at 9.5.
Cam,
Does that sound good to you?
9.5. How are you feeling
there?
there?
I think actually, I don't like to correct you, Sammy, but I think that line did open at 5.5 at the start of the week.
Yeah, the mailbag.com.au customers of C. Deans. What did we take?
6.5, I think we end up taking.
What an operator.
Wow.
What an operator.
Early to bed, early to rise, gets a surf in,
that's why he's
and then
loving
just picks off the markets.
He's up early doing his work, getting into his work. Good boy.
I wouldn't be turning you off at the 9.5 still. I quite like the Kangas here. I think they are a far better side than Sydney at the moment. I would have them probably 12-point favourites without any home ground advantage, and they've got home ground advantage. So I'm quite keen on them this week. Talking about the shorter quarters, it really helps Goldie. He can ruck all day, and he did really well against GWS. And they're big-bodied, the Kangas, and they're beating up sides. They really smashed into GWS, and I think they'll do the same to Sydney, so I'm pretty keen on them.
Would you bet any margins in this? If you're so keen on them,
the 40 plus.
Yeah, 40 plus is $5.70.
Wow.
Hang on, a little bit of respect for the Swans, please. We don't get pumped.
New
We
2020.
don't put teams away, but we don't get pumped at the same time.
It's
That's what we've always done.
2020. And speaking of 2020, Matt Rowell, he's created a massive impression. Dowson liked him from the get-go. I couldn't really pronounce his name properly. I called him Matt Roval, the suburb out east in Melbourne. But $1.08, what is $1.80 or odds on the Suns against Adelaide?
I've seen a stack of lead enter the pencil.
Are the Gold Coast Suns a gimme this week at the odds on?
Well, I don't know if we're living in the topsy-turvy world, but there's two games where the line... I think there's been a bit of a overreaction in the market, and it's the West Coast game and the Gold Coast game. And I guess it's both been caused by the events of that game last week. But I don't know, geez, I'd be just very wary of both of those games. I think there's some traps being set there.
All right, we'll take a break. Up next, we'll have the boys play for this round of footy. We'll also have In the Know with Snow and Big Daddy Adam Fraser to talk golf.
Speaking of racing, if you're doing the form for the weekend, head to puntingform.com.au. With 7 years of historic benchmark data and ratings, Punting Form is the #1 choice for horse racing professionals.
Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Nick Heathcote, with Jack Dickens, Dowson and Sammy Todd. We've got Cam still on the line, and we're going to do a little quick wrap-up of their best bets in the AFL. Pat McPhee is tweeting about it. The game's expanding on ESPN. It's a bigger game.
Expanding on the AFL app, but if you want to get all the information and you're going to get it right now, go to the topsport.com.au website and just place your wagers.
Exactly. Let's talk best bets of the round. We'll start with you, Dowson, Dawson's Creek.
Well, I'm like Cam. I like North Melbourne as well against the Swans. The other one that I quite like is the Giants against the Dogs. I just think the Dogs are no good. The Giants have got the blueprint to beat them, having done it only about 3 games ago. Beat them viciously up in Sydney late last year. Giants got a needle on the weekend. Their coaches had a pop at their toughness. I think the Giants are going to come out breathing fire. Bont is on the news talking about their brand. Always a bad sign when you hear that word brand. And I thought he had some poor body language when he was giving that interview talking about his teammates as well. So all over the Giants there.
Sammy, any move for the Giants?
Goodness. Let's have a little look. No, not that I'm aware of. I'm curious to know how you'd bet into that match, though. Would you take them, win, line, margin?
There was a little bit of 5.5 earlier in the week, out to 8.5 now. So probably a little bit of both. Probably half to 3/4 head to head at the moment, and then just a little bit of line to top that up.
Cameron?
Beautiful.
Yes, so as mentioned, I like the Kangas at the minus. I like Essendon, and I'd probably back Essendon head-to-head in the 40+. Melbourne are not convinced that they're any better than last year. They were terrible against West Coast. They limped home against Carlton. They can't even sing the song together. So I'll be on the Bombers there at the $1.83 or the 8.20 40+. And the other one is the outsiders. I like the Blues here. They're 27.5 points outsiders against the Cats. I think they're still they hang inside games well. They come from behind well. They did that last year. They're plus 27.5 there. I like the Blues.
Beautiful work, boys.
Does Cripper get the votes last week, even though they lost?
Probably Petrarca gets some, Maxi. Yeah.
2?
Maybe 1.
Yeah, maybe 1.
The umpires do love him. He overpolls.
Big Cripper and Degoe, man, ain't
Well,
you?
mate, he has 2 or 3 players just swinging off him all game, and he still bobs up and takes grabs. But we'll see. He'll do the talking. And thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
If you want to get Cam's stuff, head to the mailbag.com.au. His bets as units delivered via the app.
Now
Up
it's
next,
In the Know with Snow. Thanks for joining us, Snowy. Welcome.
Snowy, how are you?
Good, Dicko, Scoot, Sammy, how are we?
Very good.
Airborne. Absolutely airborne. What do you got?
You know that Sammy's airborne, don't you?
Well, she should be nice and refreshed. I was just wondering, any new jewellery on the finger or anything like that?
Oh, my God. No. Jesus.
She's still trying to creep into like a little bit of a feature piece on his Instagram, which I felt as a consumer of the Dolls social media work, it was pretty close to happening.
Snowy, what do you think about cropping partners out of shots on Instagram? Is it a...
Well, I did notice that, but I won't comment on that one, but I think we all know they had a pretty good week, which is good to see.
Yeah, young love is bloody beautiful. Now, speaking of...
She's got a bit of a spring in her step at the moment, hasn't she?
Speaking of beautiful, jockeys and their weights and ponies, and the Caulfield trainer's heart. What have you got for us?
What's news down there?
Well, I was talking to a couple of boys, and it's a hot topic at the moment.
Weight.
And when I was jockey weight, I suppose with COVID, that was the only reason they lifted it from the minimum 54 to 56. And when I spoke to Nick Ryan last night, he was of the opinion it's a no-brainer. It should just stay as it is. And like that cut his career short, I suppose, with him. And I said to him, if it was 56, how much longer could you have rode for? And he reckons he would have got another couple of years. I suppose like Steve Arnold, heavier jockey. And then I seen Zara done a post, but there was a lot of comments on that there. And Malcolm sort of said, if you're good enough, you should get the rides and stuff like that. And then I speak to the hut this morning, and they were like, the jockeys are whinging. It has to stay at 54. If you put it up now, then in 10 years' time, they're probably going to want to put it up again. So I suppose it's going to be a pretty good debate. And if it wasn't for COVID, we probably wouldn't be speaking about it. But it'd be interesting now what happens. I suppose, Scooter and Dicko, you boys are both punters. What do you think will happen?
I think it should stay. It should go back to what it was. I agree that if it is increased, eventually it'll be increased again. I think if there's something to complain about, they'll find it and they'll harp on about it. If you don't want to ride the weight, don't ride the weight. If you don't want to ride the work, don't ride the work. If there's too much work during the week, cut your week back like Mark Zara does. You control. They're basically subcontractors, like a builder or a carpenter. And if you want the work, it's there for you, and they're blessed.
Yeah,
and if you don't want the work, then have a day off. Have 2 days off. And if you're not good enough that doing that will affect you getting rides, then maybe it's not the career for you.
And it gives apprentices an opportunity. So the young kids, the lighter weight jockeys, female jockeys as well. So I think it shares it around a bit. Racing needs new faces in it, from punters, from all areas of the sport. I think racing's got bigger issues.
Bigger issues. What about Giles? And we're going to get the onus back, are we? Just PVL the second. Unbelievable. I'm so fed up with this obsession with getting owners back
to the track.
What about the punters, mate?
Punters need to be...
We've fun the thing. How about you show us a little bit of respect? Even just mention our names once. Anyway,
find us a winner.
Straighten us up and give us a winner on Saturday.
Well, just a quick shout out to myself as well. Winner the other week. I tell you what, I rose to the occasion. Lombardo just pissed in, so I thought I'd bring that up.
I've come back from a holiday and you're still going on about this?
He wasn't on last week.
The Trumpet Award for the year. There's an early front runner, Snowy, just blowing his own horn.
Lombardo won for us at Morfordville. Have you got one for us there this Saturday? Snowy.
I know this. I spoke to my little mate Nick last night. He's got one going to the first at Adelaide on Saturday, Sunshines, and this horse did run on our Punters Club date, ran second down the straight. He's sending that. Went very good. It flew home, sat back, flew home. It's only a small field. I had a quick look. I think there was only maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. But Nick was very, very keen. So I think we should get a fill early. And you learned the hard way the other week, Dicko.
Yeah.
When Nick Ryan tips him, you got to get on because this thing will go off.
Ollie rides the thing that beats Sunshines today at Sandown. So if it's race 1 at Sandown, punters, there's another little sort of tick for this horse that Snowy's pushing. Snowy, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. And now, Big Daddy Adam Fraser, a man with a similar rig to our new favourite golfer, Bryson DeChambeau, a big unit with a massive swing who really puts some hurt on that ball. Well, I've been trying to hit that big tailor-made you gave me with that big, thick shaft. And it's got some power on it.
I tell you what, the last time I saw it, he shanked it about 40 metres. So I'm telling you, it's not going that well, Big Daddy. He needs some tutelage. How have you survived COVID? And what do you think about the heritage this week on the PGA Tour? Gee, it's great to have golf back.
Yeah, it is good to have golf back, isn't it? It's going to be a pretty full-on schedule. A guy that normally plays really well around there is Matt Kuchar.
Huge. He's the bloke who won 100,000. And gave his part-time caddy 5,000 or something, remember? Hot go.
It's a little tight, sticky course, but Kuchar normally plays pretty good around there. So, it's at Hilton Head. I think Kuchar's probably one to follow. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys come back after COVID. They've had a lot of time off. You don't sort of really know who's been working sort of really hard at their game and who's been sort of taking it easy. So I think it'll take sort of a few tournaments in to get a gauge of who's been working really hard and who's in form. I think early signs of that. Bryson got off to a good start.
What do you think of his big rig?
Well, the thing is with Bryson, they call him the mad scientist. So he's always got a new idea, and every year he seems to be coming out with something different. And this year it seems to be his whole weight thing. He's gone from 195 pounds to 225. So, one thing that affects normally a golf game is dramatic body shape sizes. So we saw that with David Duval years ago when he was the size of a house and then suddenly got ripped in 8 weeks and suddenly lost his golf game after that. So it'd be interesting to see where Bryson goes this year. He's chasing this sort of hitting it further, distance in his game, getting bigger and stronger. And I'll just play it by year, I suppose. We'll just wait and see. But
what about Justin Rose? What about Justin Rose, Big Daddy?
Justin Rose, he's just been a great player for so many years. He's normally very consistent. He's got a pretty strong head on his shoulders. He's normally someone that's going to be, I think, moving forward around for a few years to come. He's going to be probably another consistent player. I think a player that I've been having a bit of a look at it, and one of the things that affects a player's golf game is usually changing coaches. Now, Butch Harmon's come out and said that, last year he's not going to travel as much to tournaments, and he's sort of palmed a lot of his players off to Claude, his son. So guys like Ricky Fowler, who missed the cut this week, you often see players struggle with their game when they switch coaches. Even though that's still within the one family, I don't think Butch is going to have so much of a hands-on effect as what he did with the players. It's more going to be Claude. And I know how Claude coaches because I used to see him. I had a few lessons off him when I was on tour, and Marcus, my brother, used to see him intimately as well for a period there. So Claude's a little bit more of a technical coach, and DJ's come out and said that, last year that he was full of fear in his head and needed to get back and have a quick chat to Butch about some things. So he sort of indicated there that he's got a lot going on, and I think Ricky, I'm not sure whether how often he's seen Claude, but I know when Ricky was seeing Butch, he was playing very well. So it'd be just interesting to watch those couple of players, I think, moving forward. I've got a hunch that Ricky's going to be struggling. That's just a gut feel I've got.
As a rule, with the sort of golf gambling heading forward for the next sort of week or two, we're just going to sit back, watch and learn, just enjoy that the great game of golf's back on our TV screens, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. We just need to get a few tournaments under our belt, get a bit of form. It's like starting a whole new season over. There's been a lot of time off, and players are coming back now, and it's just we just wait and see. We just wait a few weeks and see what's happening. But Kuchar's normally a pretty good bet around Hilton Head, so I'll be interested to probably have something small and a match bet on Kuchar.
Sammy odds?
He's in a massive price there, $46. Interesting as well that you talked about Bryson's weight before. With batting in the... I'm loving this look that I'm getting from Scoot right now.
Sammy's bringing an angle to the table. I love this.
Yeah, no, it's been a big deal in baseball as well. When you have dramatic weight changes, it really changes your ability to make runs. And CC Sabathia was a really notable Yankee batter. Oh my God, Dick.
You need that Dr. Phil kid. That.
Calm down.
Controversy.
So Bryson might
baseball.
be a lay. If what you're suggesting,
so
it's
aggressive.
the second favourite there. It's $17.
Behind Rory McIlroy.
Big Daddy Fraser, we appreciate your time.
I don't think Bryson, because of his form last week, should be a lay. But generally speaking, players that change body shape dramatically, it affects their swing, and it can be hard to sort of adjust to that. But Bryson, he's come out firing. So, look, it'll be interesting to see. But he is a player long-term that I have a gut feel that he's going to be inconsistent. The reason being is they call him the mad scientist, and he's always got a new idea.
Overthinking it.
And players like that.
Head noises inside the noodles. No good for your golf swing.
Players like that, you're always got a new idea, Dicko. So, players like that.
Well, speaking of that, you owe me about 14 lessons. I expect once that knee's sweet to cash in on them. I've taken a little bit of a coupon with the golf club, the driver, the big dog, which you'll never see again in your golf bag. We appreciate your time here on
Thanks
Little
for
Birdie,
joining us,
and we
Big
look
Daddy.
forward to having you on each and every week as the golf continues to thrive.
It's been a great show. We think we might have unlocked the reason behind your driving yips. It might be your body weight, Dicko. You can't get off the tee because you put on too much pudding COVID. Controversy! Thanks for joining us on Little Birdie Pod. I think I'm ready for a holiday. Sammy's back. She's
Next
dropping
week,
Yankee stats.
just Sammy and baseball.
Sammy's going to run the show.
Chewing tobacco.
We'll see you next week.
Bye for now.